Oh, let's see. First experience with Pearl drums was on tour with Sting in 1985. And it was an interesting story because I needed a loaner drum set from Yamaha. We were in England, and they had to send the main band equipment ahead to Australia about a week and a half in advance. So they said to everybody, okay, well, call up the companies that you work with and get equipment so that we can use in England on the tour. But for some reason, Yamaha wasn't able to provide me a drum set, which I thought was very strange.
Yeah.
But I think what happened, and it's a very long story that I'm going to make short, Pearl heard about this. And when I showed up in England at the concert, they provided the drum set. And I was like, wow, very interesting. And I want to say it was a maple drum set, maybe early version of MLX. And I was very surprised at the sound. Fantastic. Even everybody in the band said, wow, this drum set sounds good. Nice drum set. So I remember this experience, and I was very grateful to Pearl for giving me the support at such a short notice. And it was fantastic, you know, the support and the drums. So after the tour ended, which was about, I would say, a good 6 months later, I met the people who ran Pearl in the U.S., and we had some very nice discussions. I was introduced to them by Steve Ferroni,
Yes.
and he introduced me to Ken Austin, Pam Haney, a few other people that were working there. And eventually we made a deal. And this was maybe 1987 was my official deal with Pearl drums. So I've been with Pearl for more than 20 years now.
Yeah.
And it's been a very, very good relationship. Right now, no, because I'm using a very interesting miking system I just tried for this album called Earthworks. And the concept with the Earthworks mic is that it actually captures the sound of the drums, the bass drum outside of the drum. And it's a more kind of acoustic picture of the drums. So the main Earthworks mic system actually consists of only 3 microphones. One for the bass drum and 2 omnidirectional overheads. And between these 3 mics, you capture the entire picture of the drum set. But in addition to the 3 mics, I also have close mics. The typical way that people mic drums is that they close mic the drums and they have the overheads, and they take the majority of the sound from the close mics, and then they fill with the overheads. But for this recording, I've done the reverse. I take the majority of the sound from the 3 mics, and I use the close mics to add, to fill.
And that works.
And it's a very nice sound. And then when I combine that with some ambience mics from my open room, it's a nice picture of the drum set. It's a very accurate representation of my balance, the way I play, and I like this.
And how do you pan? How do you mix it?
I pan drummer's perspective.
Yeah,
hi-hat, right-handed. Most engineers, they do the difference.
Yes, opposite.
But I like to hear the hi-hat
on the left.
On that side. On my left as a right-handed drummer. Basically, the concept is centered around finding it's identifying the range of each drum and what the drum can can reproduce in a very like full-bodied tone. And usually a drum has a range in where it works, and that range is usually dictated by the type of drum heads you use on the drums. So once I've identified that range with each drum, then I make sure that I get a nice musical interval between.
So you look for the intervals.
Absolutely.
And what about drummer who doesn't really know? There's a lot of drummers who don't know music and harmony.
I think it's good for drummers to study piano, harmony. I think it gives the drummer more musical reference to work with. So I would recommend to drummers to study.
Because tuning is a very difficult thing to learn and to apply.
And really, it's your ability to identify pitch, tone, and harmonics. That's really what it is. Weather report, domino theory. A lot of that record was recorded live in London. So that was a fun session because we had the energy of the audience there. Even though it was delivered to Columbia as a studio record, you know. But it was actually quite a few of the songs were recorded live. So that was a memorable session for me. Let's Dance by David Bowie. It was a very fun session, and a lot of laughing on that session. David was a very funny man and a great super artist and super creative guy. In the studio, it was Niall and Carmine Rojas on bass, and myself. So we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So this was a fun record. Bobby McFerrin, Beyond Words. This is a nice session with Chick Corea, Richard Bona. Nice session.
Who is Omar Hakim, apart of being a drummer?
Well, maybe many things. A son and a father.
Big family, I've seen.
Yeah, I have kids. It's a busy life away from music, you know. But, you know, living gives your music life. You know, music is not about practicing, it's about living. And the things that you get from life, you can't practice. They just become a part of your music personality.
They happen.
And they give your rhythms energy and life. And they give your melodies emotion. And they give your lyrics depth. So that's what music is really. You know, I always say, well, I had a teacher, a spiritual teacher, who said to me, some things cannot be taught, they have to be caught.
Yeah.
I like this saying.
That's true.
So, my idea is that I can experience life with an open mind and open heart, and try to stay in the moment as much as possible, and observe things around me. Music is everywhere. You know, it's in the wind and the trees and the children playing in the park and the windshield wipers in your car going back and forth, and the baby crying on the plane, and you know, a woman's laugh, and you know, there's music everywhere, right?
That's true. Thanks a lot for being back with Planet Drum.
Yes, hello to everybody. Planet Drum. Look out for my new album, We Are One. It's coming out this year very soon.